Welcome to Inside Monster Jam, powered by Lucas Oil, the official Monster Jam podcast. I'm Scott Jordan. We are just 2 short months away from the biggest event of the year, Monster Jam World Finals 24, July 4th and 5th at Rice-Eccles Stadium in Salt Lake City, which means it is time for our World Finals preview episode, which means it is my pleasure to welcome back to Inside Monster Jam the Director of Stadium Operations, Scott Olinski. Welcome back to your annual visit to Inside Monster Jam.
It's great. Thanks, Scott. I know you talked to Jamie about multiple appearances and a jacket.
Yes.
So
we're going to work on that. I think if we end up with season 5, I have to have something for you and Jamie because I think you are two of the most prolific guests I've had on this show. But you are the foremost authority on World Finals. Jamie touched on it at the State of Monster Jam, but now we're going to dive in, and I want to start with Salt Lake City because they are now not just a host city for Monster Jam, they are a partner. So first, let's talk about the decision to move our premier event to Salt Lake City. What went into that?
Yeah, I think just like any event that we've looked at for World Finals, it's trying to see what works for the event as a whole. And as you said, Salt Lake has been a great partner. The Utah Sports Commission worked with Supercross a lot in the past, and they really wanted World Finals. So kind of worked together, saw what fit, and it's a match made in heaven.
So is that a situation where because we've done Supercross there, we've done Monster Jam there, that they came to you and said this is something we would like to do, or was it? I don't know how the process works. Is there a yearly meeting where you talk about possible host sites and just go from there?
Yeah, I think from the beginning when we started talking about moving the World Finals from location to location, we kind of sat together and put together options of what worked. But the Utah Sports Commission has a great relationship with Feld Entertainment and a lot of us within the company, and made their interest known of bringing World Finals to Salt Lake.
I think you've done a good job of rotating it around. We started in Las Vegas for so many years, then we go to Orlando and in Central Florida, then we move it up to Nashville, then we go out to the West Coast to Los Angeles, and then now we are in the West Coast, but more of a Midwest area, sort of with Salt Lake City. So a different climate, different area, but the view, I think, from Rice-Eccles Stadium is one of the most beautiful things I've seen from the broadcast booth.
I think cityscape, first, and foremost, is like you said, sitting in that venue and being able to look out and see mountains in the background is great. Yeah. I think it's definitely over a vacation period. It's great to see there's so many other things that you can go and see that are just great, that are landmarks and the salt flats and everything. So it's a good time.
And this year, the decision was made to extend our quarter one, our Q1, our season, and put World Finals in one of the biggest holiday weekends of the year, if not the biggest holiday weekend of the year. So what was the thought process on moving World Finals to July 4th weekend?
Yeah, I think when we were in Nashville, it was right before 4th of July weekend, and you can't get much more festive, I guess, right, than 4th of July weekend. You have, Monster Jam trucks, 4th of July weekend, fireworks. It'll be a great time.
So because of World Finals being on 4th of July, I see there's been this tie-in now. We just saw the Stars and Stripes Megalodon. Mm-hmm. Is that the reasoning behind that paint scheme, because we're celebrating 4th of July at Salt Lake City at World Finals?
Yeah, I think that also goes into the partnership that we have with Spin Master and their constant innovation of what they can do to bring out new designs with our Monster Jam trucks. So being able to unveil the Megalodon Stars and Stripes in Seattle and then see it through all the way to World Finals is a nice little touch.
Let's talk about the Utah Sports Commission, because prior to a few years ago, Utah was really the Utah Jazz at the Delta Center, and you have Utah University, Utah College that plays there at Rice-Eccles Stadium. Now they have the Utah Hockey Club, so that Sports Commission was able to take your beloved Phoenix Coyotes, Arizona Coyotes, and move them. But now Salt Lake City is this budding sports town. So we see the Utah Sports Commission not just being a sponsor of World Finals, but they're showing up. You see banners all over the stadiums, all over the arenas on prime time. One of our segments is brought to you by the Utah Sports Commission. So why is this different than Orlando and Nashville and LA and Las Vegas? Why is the Utah Sports Commission such a big part of Monster Jam now?
I think you hit the nail on the head. Is they've really transitioned into a huge sports town, bringing in all of these different entities and really having that focus on sports and camaraderie. And I think that Monster Jam just goes hand in hand with all of that. Supercross, having their finals there year after year. Now we finally have the chance to show all of the Utah crowd what the Monster Jam World Finals is all about.
And you get a chance to see your hockey team play again, just in different jerseys this time.
We won't touch that one.
Okay, we won't touch that. But we are going to touch on the two-day format, the highly talked about two-day format on social media that is coming up next with Scott Olinski on Inside Monster Jam, powered by Lucas Oil. Welcome back to Inside Monster Jam, powered by Lucas Oil, the official Monster Jam podcast. It is our World Finals preview episode. Before we get back with Scott, Monster Jam fans, some of you have been commenting on my frames on social media. I got brand new ones today. It is the year of the snake. These are Zennies. They're available at Zenny.com. We have a deal for you. If you want frames like mine, go to Zenny.com, enter the code MonsterJam, save 10% on your order. Show them off on social media. Use the hashtag MonsterJam. Get your Zennies and rock it out just like me. Scott, we'll talk about the two-day format, because that has been the most highly talked about thing on social media. I don't think it's so much the two-day format as much as it is splitting up racing and freestyle and having different drivers compete on 2 days. So let's talk about that thought process and that decision to change the World Finals into what it will be at Salt Lake City.
Yeah, I think it's definitely a unique format. Jamie mentioned on the episode a little while back that trying to cater to a wide range of fans. You have your diehard fans that wanted the two-day format back. Then you have the casual fans that expect more of a standard competition, your racing, skills, freestyle. So trying to marry both of those together, but still provide a great event overall.
Did you see a lot of the initial fan response online, and what were your thoughts of that?
Yes, I saw all of them. I love reading the comments from everywhere, from your page to Monster Jam. I think it's what you do when you go home, right?
Yeah.
So yes, I understand their concern and frustration, but I think with anything, ask that you give it a chance. I know last year with having the S course in SoFi, there was a lot of negative comments about it when we first released it, and it ended up being one of the best racing that we've ever had in World Finals. So just give it a chance.
What are your expectations of this? Because I with you being the front man for this, was this something you spearheaded, and is this kind of your baby, or is this a partnership between you and some of the other higher ups at Monster Jam?
Yeah, I think overall it's a group effort in trying to figure out what we want the World Finals to look like, and then from there I kind of take the vision and break it out into what it will become. So I think it's, as I said, it's unique, and I think it's going to be interesting to see how everything breaks out between splitting up the field into 2 days. I think it also, in terms of freestyle, might provide people a little more opportunity to get a better score, so you're not necessarily seeing 24 trucks in a row and getting bored by the time the 10th one comes in and seeing the same thing.
I do want to ask, because I did read a lot of the fan comments, and I've had these up from the 100th episode of Mailbag all the way through to this week, but some fans were expressing concern about the Friday and Saturday, the racing competition, basically. So you're going to have half the field compete on Friday. That winner and the second place finisher will move on to Saturday to compete in the finals and the bronze medal race. Do you think that winner from Friday night will be at a disadvantage at all in Saturday? Because a lot of times in Monster Jam, it's all about momentum. It's about feeling the track, and you may have a driver coming in that wins 4 in a row going up against a driver that hasn't competed in a day. So how do you think that'll play out?
Yeah, I think it's a valid concern, and one that I think was voiced from not only fans but from drivers alike. And we're working hard to make sure that that Friday winner, as well as that second place, the runner-up on Friday, have an opportunity to run on Saturday before that championship round. So they'll get a chance to run in both lanes. So a sight lap, hot lap, whatever you want to consider it, to kind of get that momentum back. And it'll really be up to them whether they want to push it hard and run, or risk damage, or just kind of take it easy and feel the track out for that final round.
But I also think the advantage could work in their favor as well, because they'll have an entire night to work on their truck and get it dialed in. They'll know the track already, so that could be an advantage that works both ways for both drivers. So it's absolutely interesting. It's going to add a little more drama, I think, to that final race and the bronze medal as well. We've seen drivers compete in 4 competitions in the past. Will this new format affect what they do at all if there is a driver that does compete all over the board?
No, I don't think so. Really no different than we've had it before. So as it breaks out, I think it might make it a little bit easier for them, knowing that you have only racing and skills on one day, or freestyle and high jump on the other. So it's a testament to the technicians that we have working on the trucks to be able to work on them and get them back for each round.
I know the power rankings are going to play a big part in this. We see the power rankings come out every week with the top 20 drivers in the sport. This is how they're going to be seeded into the days. Can you explain a little bit about how that format's going to work?
Yeah, so taking the power rankings as a whole and kind of adjusting that to each of the groups, Group A and Group B. So kind of making sure that things are even in terms of each of them. So taking, the odds from power rankings and putting them in Group A, and the evens and putting them in Group B, and then filtering down from there.
And so for qualifying, they would just qualify against drivers in their own group. Is that correct?
Correct, yeah. So qualifying will be a little bit different in the fact that you technically will have 3 sessions of qualifying between LCQ, Group A, and then Group B.
I think it's going to spice things up. I'm excited for it, and I'm excited for what's to come. We have a big announcement coming up here next on this show. Stay right where you are. It's the World Final Selection Show next on Inside Monster Jam, powered by Lucas Oil. We are back with more Inside Monster Jam, powered by Lucas Oil. I'm Scott Jordan. I'm joined this week by Scott Olinski as we chat all things World Finals. So I teased it on the last break here, the World Final Selection Show, which we're going to get to here in just a moment. That airs in a few days live. But first, the halftime entertainment, always a big buzz on social media about that. We're going to announce that halftime entertainment right here. We're going to welcome back a familiar face. Before I get your opinion, let's go to the video and meet our World Finals halftime entertainer. Exciting time. DJ Malski coming back to Monster. I feel like this guy, since he started with us, has just never left. Very entertaining, incredible DJ, and some of his online videos are hysterical. So this guy's an entertainer. Talk about bringing DJ Malski back to World Finals.
Yeah, so we brought DJ Malski in last year for the World Finals, and I think immediately he fell in love with our sport. He does things all over the country between the Final Four and the Super Bowl, and his larger-than-life personality couldn't be a better match for Monster Jam.
He's done some big events. I think I just saw on social media he was at AT&T Stadium with an amazing crowd there. So this man can control the crowd. Is his involvement strictly for halftime, or will he be a part of different aspects of the event?
Yeah, I think just like anything, he'll be a part of the entire thing to keep the crowd pumped, keep that energy going. I mean, standing in the driver's seating last year and seeing Jamie Garner and Camden Murphy of all people dancing around was a great sight.
So the World Final Selection Show, which will air Monday, May 19th at 8 p.m. It'll be live on the Monster Jam YouTube channel. I will be here in Studio B. It's the first time for this. I'm so excited to do it. We're going to break down the field. We're going to announce the field live on YouTube. All 23 main field competitors, the high jump competitors, the skills competitors, the LCQ competitors, and we're going to break down the event even further detail to talk about some things. So how are you feeling about doing this first ever World Final Selection Show?
I'm excited. When they first brought it up of doing the selection show, it was great. I was watching the college playoff selection show, and I was like, wow, this is great. I wish we could bring that in. And kind of, again, working as a group and being able to bring that into Monster Jam. I think it's a great way to kick off Monster Jam World Finals with the season ending in May, and then having that little bit of time before we get into Salt Lake City. I
love live television because it leaves little room for error, so I got to make sure I'm on my A game, just as you are today on your A game. But we got a lot to talk about for that show. A lot of fans asking about the track reveal, so we're not going to do that here on Inside Monster Jam. That is going to be something that happens at the selection show. I know Jamie talked about the track going into the stands, so is that some accurate information that we can tease a little bit as to what they might see if they watch May 19th?
I would say it's a nice little Easter egg, and it's great that people caught onto his lingo.
Yeah, what goes into the lineup selection? Because I was telling these guys here, our production team last week, I don't envy you to be in this position because you only have 23 spots. Obviously, the LCQ frees it up a little bit because you got drivers that can still come and compete for that spot and compete at World Finals on that track. But you have a tough job to pick what you feel are the 23 best. Obviously, our series champions are coming, but what is that process like for you? I mean, is it like a NFL draft day where you have a war room and you're going in there like looking at names on a board?
I would definitely liken it to a war room. Again, there's a committee that works on the lineup and really taking everybody's body of work and looking at it and seeing. The great thing about the LCQ is that it frees up 12 more spots. So out of 48 competitors that we have, 35 are having a chance at the World Finals.
And another hot topic is stunts. We saw 2 last year at SoFi. We had the Fortnite stunt. We had the Smash Mountain stunt. Can you tell us, our viewers here today, anything about what they might find out if they do tune into the selection show?
Yeah, I think we'll definitely have some stunts again for the World Finals this year, and I think we might have some information to release on at least one of them at the selection show.
And of course, it's the biggest pit party of the year as well. I'm sure we'll have some pit party information, maybe an app that they can download. But you're a little involved with the pit party this year, right? Because you're not just the director of stadium operations. You have your hand in everything Salt Lake City. So anything you can tell us about the pit party?
Yeah, we've been hard at work on the pit party. We've had, I think, 7 different renditions of the map. So we're kind of fine-tuning it now just to get the best atmosphere for everybody and, to ease their way around the stadium. But I'm super excited to see what we have cooking this year.
Well, me too. And I'm excited for the World Final Select Show again. That is Monday, May 19th at 8 p.m. live right here from the studio. I'll be with you to break down the field, so make sure you watch the World Final Selection Show. And make sure you stay tuned. We got fan questions next for Scott on Inside Monster Jam, powered by Lucas Oil. Welcome back to Inside Monster Jam, powered by Lucas Oil. It is a World Finals preview show. My guest is Director of Stadium Operations, Scott Olinski. You chimed in on Instagram with the amount of questions that were coming in for you. A lot of them did have to do with Glendale and World Finals, and you and I have talked off air. That is your town, your city. I know you love it there. A lot of fans asking, any chance we see a World Finals event in Glendale?
I hope so. Every week I'm say, hey, what about Glendale? What about Glendale? So maybe one day we'll keep my fingers crossed.
Is that like when I say, hey, what about me driving a truck? Is that like that kind of response that you get there when you say, what about Glendale?
Yeah, not a hard no, but
well, maybe we'll see. All right, Kit Kat Dan had a great question that goes along with the halftime performance. He's asking, will the halftime performance be you singing Justin Timberlake? That is a valid question. I'm very upset I've never been asked to provide the halftime entertainment with my JT band, my Luke Bryan band. But you and I had a great relationship when you were my tour director, and anytime somebody didn't show up, I was the guy that you threw in the bullpen to sing the national anthem. So if there's any chance that maybe DJ Malski's luggage his DJ board gets stuck, I'm going to bring my tuxedo. Any chance I can bring the sexy back to Salt Lake City?
I know Malski's pretty excited to attend, so we'll put a pin in that, and maybe next year, Scott.
Maybe when he goes to Glendale. Maybe. Yeah. All right, Monster Truck TV is asking, with so many deserving competitors in Monster Jam, could we potentially see an increase in the field of trucks like years past? And you brought up a good point that now it's 35, so we already have an increase. But what about the main field possibly being increased somewhere?
I think, like anything, you never say never. I think 24 is kind of that sweet spot right now, because if you look, as I said, 48 competitors throughout the season, you're taking half of that field. But then with the LCQ, you have another 12.
Sure.
So I think right now we're in a good spot, but yeah, never say never.
Woody Woodrow 98 says, is there a driver in the running for a spot at World Finals that has surprised you this year? I don't want you to spoil, where the committee is going, but is there somebody that's flown under the radar that you think, could be deserving of a spot?
This season has been absolutely wild.
Yeah.
And trying to keep up with the arenas as well as the stadiums as I'm managing them. It's a testament to the talent from the drivers to see people like Devin Winfield stepping up.
Yeah.
Cody Saucier, even though he's been here forever, really staying into it. And then I think John Zimmer Jr. with his basically
Right.
Cinderella story of starting decent, and then currently leading.
And you have another interesting story with Blake Granger, who has already clinched a World Final spot as the International Series champion. It looks like he could be on his way to a second automatic bid. Obviously, we're not going to give a driver 2 automatic bids. And any thought process on what could happen? Would it just be 5 at that point, automatic bids? Would we have a situation like with Matt Cody last year where Dalton Widener got the bid? Anything that you could tell our fans about what might happen if Blake does clinch two championships?
I think those scenarios are all things that we've talked about and trying to figure out the best path forward for that. It's really unprecedented to have somebody clinch 2 different series. Right. So props to Blake on the hard work that he's put in, both internationally and domestically, and look forward to that unveil.
Maybe we'll announce that at the selection show. Maybe it'll be something we talk about. Tune in Monday, May 19th, 8 p.m. Monster Truck Sid is asking, how do you determine who goes into World Finals that didn't win a point series? So for the at-large competitors, is there a body of work that you look at throughout the whole season? Is there something that weighs a little more than something else?
I don't think there's any one particular thing that weighs more than another. So that that committee takes the whole body of work. They look at wins. They look at their competitors to see how they've done throughout the season, and then we try to fill in the slots accordingly.
A question that I have with the pit party. This is going to be the largest collection of drivers and trucks throughout the year. So if anybody wants to meet their favorite driver, chances are Salt Lake City is a place to do it. Is there a process with maybe non-competing trucks that you bring in just for this event, just to be display trucks? Is that something that's talked about as well?
Yeah, I think everything's on the table. From all of the competitors throughout the season to if there's some other trucks that haven't been competing, or even some new debuts.
That was another Easter egg. I like that. All right, let's see what else we have here. Beam Monster Jam. What is some of the challenges Monster Jam faces when it comes to picking out World Finals locations, as well as what racing freestyle formats to use? Let's just stick with the locations. What are challenges every year to pick a host city for World Finals?
I think space is the biggest challenge. Yeah. Looking to see how we're going to fit 50 haulers into a location, as well as 250 staff cars, as well as pit party, as well as hot pits. So space is always the biggest thing, but being able to adapt and maybe change up how we do things to fit into a venue that we're coming to.
Well, it's been awesome catching up with you. And can I tell them the news about me and my role at World Finals this year? Can I tell them that on the show?
Yeah, I don't see why not.
So obviously we're covering for TV for Racer Network and YouTube, but I will be back in the building, in the bowl, at the desk with Kay Young. So it's going to be a 2-man live event hosting. I'm excited for that.
Does that make me your boss once again?
Once again. We're going to revisit Scott Olinski. Thanks so much. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate you guys for joining us again. The Selection Show, Monday, May 19th, 8 p.m. on YouTube. I'll see you there. That's all the time we have for Inside Monster Jam, powered by Lucas Oil.